Hi guys, I'm Amy Bishop and I'm here with your Semrush Weekly Wisdom video. Today we're going to talk about search query mapping and the importance of that. Search query mapping goes by several different names. I've also heard it called search query sculpting or keyword sculpting. And essentially the premise of it is making sure that you are being very intentional about which search terms are mapping to which keywords and which ad groups. So let me just pull up some slides so that we can talk about this in a little bit more detail. Typically, we would build out our ad groups into tightly themed keyword groups. We would build out small ad groups based upon the specific theme of the keywords to ensure that whatever ad that we put in that ad group will be relevant to all of the keywords that are within it. And we would think that since we built out our ad groups correctly, using a good structure, that should take care of ensuring that our ads are always relevant to the search query. Unfortunately, queries can still accidentally trigger ads from other ad groups, and the most common reasons for this are match types. So, of course, phrase match and broad match keywords can map to a lot of different queries, and then also close variants. So even exact match keywords can now map to queries that don't exactly match them. So let's look at an example of this. Let's say the search term is dog toys with treats. It could match to dog toys holding treats, and it could also match just to simply dog toys in a modified broad match. So then we have this search term that's matching to two different ad groups where one ad is likely way more relevant to the search term versus the other because the ad group dog toys with treats likely has an ad that is specific to that query, probably specifically includes the term treats in it somewhere, and then it probably takes it to a landing page that has dog toys with treats. Whereas the general ad group likely has a more general ad, and it probably takes the searcher to a more general landing page that could include a broad scope of toys. So this is a problem because we're not controlling that experience, and that means that we're missing out sometimes. We're not always capturing as much revenue or as many leads as we could be if we have queries that are mapping to ad groups that aren't as relevant and aren't as great of an experience. But it's also a data integrity problem because we have this data for this search term that is split up into little pockets all throughout the account, some which may be performing well and in some cases where it may not be. But if it's not spending a lot in all of these different areas, it could be flying under the radar, which means that in aggregate, it could be a big opportunity to fix. But because it's flying under the radar, we don't notice since it's just a little bit of spend here and a little bit of spend there. And so looking at this and making sure that we're always keeping an eye on how our search terms are mapping and looking at how search terms are performing in aggregate is really important. So we'll go through how we can manage this and the best way to control this moving forward. So how do you keep things under tight control? Part of that is just based upon your ad group, making sure that you have tightly themed groups of keywords and making sure that you're providing the most relevant ad copy to those keywords at each point. But even if you have a lot of different ad groups and they're all tightly knit, it's still possible that more general queries could be mapping to multiple things, especially if you're using broad or modified broad keywords. So we have to keep an eye on our search terms report, and we need to be looking through that and ensuring that search terms are matching to the appropriate ad group that we want them to, and that's why I like to call it search term mapping. So the easiest way that I find to do this is to use Excel. I'm a big Excel nerd. So instead of kind of scanning through that list and trying to just mentally make note of where that search term is appearing and trying to make sure that it's not appearing in multiple places, I like to use the subtotal function within Excel. So if you export all of that data from your account, then you can pull all of that data into Excel and you can review it to see where there may be issues. So let's walk through this process together. So here we have all of this data in Excel, and what I'm doing here is I am sorting by search term. You can do ascending or descending. We just want to get all like search terms together. Then we're going to highlight all of that data. You'll want to go to the Data tab within Excel. Then we're going to click the Subtotal button, and we're going to do at each change in search term, you want to make sure that you choose Count, click Add Group, and then click OK. Then it's going to subtotal it. You can click the 2 for a nice summary there, and then we're going to dig into some of what this data is telling us. So let's just explore a few of these. So if we click the plus button, we can dig into which ad groups are matching here. And we can see that the search term is by dog toys, and it's mapping to dog toys. It's also mapping to squeaky dog toys. And that one has a lower return on ad spend, which isn't surprising because the ad is probably specific to squeaky dog toys. That's not what they're searching for. Let's look at another one here. So let's see. If we look at dog toys with treats, it's matching to the ad group dog toys with treats, has a great return on ad spend, no surprise. It's also matching to dog toys, and it has a pretty low return on ad spend, which again isn't a surprise because the ad is probably not specific to dog toys with treats. If we look at this third one, the search term is dog stuffed animal. It has a few sales, really low return on ad spend. They may be looking for a stuffed animal that's actually a dog. They may be looking for a stuffed animal that looks like a dog. It's possible that the person wasn't sure if they should exclude it or not, but then you see here it's mapping to other ad groups, it's spending more money, it doesn't appear to be relevant overall, so probably should just exclude it altogether. And the important thing to know here is that if you exclude one of these, it's just going to push more volume into the other ad groups because it's mapping to multiple ad groups. So we have to make sure we exclude it in all places, and that's another reason that you should really be careful and aware of how your search terms are mapping to your ad groups. You've defined where you want those search terms to map to. You just need to go back to the other ad groups and make sure that you add that search term as a negative to ensure that it's always funneling through the ad group that you've chosen. So it's just giving you more control in the overall performance of your account and making sure that you're being really deliberate about when you're serving ads and what that experience is for each of those different keyword themes that you're targeting, and making sure that the search terms are as relevant to those keywords as possible, and that experience fits what they're really searching for. Anyway, this has been your weekly wisdom tip, so I hope it's been helpful. Thanks.